Ladies, have you ever struggled in the midst of your pain, wondering why? Why am I going through this? Why is this happening to me? Well, on today's episode of Unleash Your Audacious Confidence, we have a very special guest, Carol-Ann Reid, that is going to share with us how to transform that pain into your purpose, your soul's purpose. I invite you to stay tuned. Welcome to Unleash Your Audacious Confidence on Win-Win Women TV. This show is all about sharing the tips, tools, and techniques that will allow you to step boldly in the direction of your dreams, despite your feelings, fears, or past failures, to imagine what's possible for yourself and live the life you deserve. Welcome to this episode of Unleash Your Audacious Confidence. I'm your host, Alicia Couri, and on today's show, we have the most amazing guest. But before I get to her, I do want to remind you that if you want to connect with me, go to alicia360.com and you can connect with me on all social channels, and you can email me, WhatsApp me, pigeon messenger me if you want to on that site. Like, you can just connect with me there. And I would love for you, if you're watching us on YouTube, to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go ahead and hit that button, like this video, share it out with a friend if you know that she needs this kind of support as well. Thank you for those of you who are watching on Win-Win Women TV. We so appreciate you joining us today. Now, my guest, she's amazing. I met her on the most amazing, wonderful retreat reboot cruise. We were on the Explorer One ship for 7 days together. She's all the way from Great Britain. She is like my new best Brit friend.
I love that.
Yeah, she's my best Brit. I'd love to introduce you to Carol-Ann Reid. And Carol-Ann, thank you so much for joining us today on the show.
Oh, thank you. I think given having spent that such quality depth time and getting to know you, this just feels magic. So thank you.
Yeah. So I don't like reading bios because I think the best way people can get to know you is to hear you on the show. So just share with us briefly who you work with and the type of work that you do.
So I predominantly work with women who find themselves internally at a crossroads. Externally, I call it the picket fence life. They tend to have, like, they know where they're going, their career's flourishing, or their business is growing. They might have the kids, the partner that did it. And it's that Instagrammable life, but internally, it's like they've hit this crossroad and they just can't seem to move forward.
Mm.
It's this element of misalignment. Who am I now?
I
Where,
was
like, they're
there.
just, right,
I was
right.
there. I know what you're talking about.
And it's like this glass ceiling that like, they know that there's more to life than this. I also kind of behind the scenes, I'm like, spiritual awakening. There's this
Mm.
thing awakening within them. They start questioning their mindsets, they start questioning their belief systems. Who am I beyond the name tags of parent,
Yeah.
of coworker, and all of that stuff? And I help them through a few different modalities, really. Predominantly kind of foundational, it's life coaching and mindset coaching. But ultimately, I love going under the bonnet. Like,
Yeah,
that's
you
who
got
I
some
am.
deep tools.
Like,
You got some deep tools that you can use with
yeah,
people. That's so awesome. I love
yeah.
that. Well, we're not going to get into all the deep tools right now because throughout, we're going to pepper it throughout this interview together. Um, I know that when you talk about women going through this kind of awakening, um, it's sort of like the soul finding your soul's purpose, because before in life you're like you have a purpose because oh, my career, family, like all those things that we're groomed as children to want, right? You got to have the great career, you got to have the family, you got to have the spouse and all those things. And then when you reach that stage where you have it and you turn around and you're like, is this really me or what I needed or what I'm here to do? Is this really what it is? So tell us what, in your mind, your definition of your soul's purpose, because I feel like that's what we run up against, discovering that.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is like all of a sudden we start to get this urge to come into our own. And it's like the way that I often hear it being described is there's something internally wanting to come through.
Bubbling.
Like it bubbles, you want to like, all these years of suppressing. And like you say, we literally are groomed by
Mhm.
society to, especially for women,
Yes.
to only speak when spoken to, don't
Correct.
ruffle feathers, be the good girl, be the people pleaser. And for me, this soul purpose that starts to come through is there's almost like two elements to it because I find some people can get stuck on this, like, what's my purpose?
Yeah.
And it has to be this thing that leads to fame and fortune. And don't get me wrong, some people's truly do. And that's part of their life path, and that soul purpose is theirs. But ultimately, I would say this soul purpose is recognizing what deeply means something to you.
Yeah.
It's that thing where if you were able to just do something for free, that's how I kind of like
Yeah.
it means so much to you that it's like beyond financial. It's just like it deeply means something to you, and simultaneously it fulfills you.
Yes. So, um, all right, this is the question I'm gonna ask, because can you have more than one soul purpose? Or can your
I
soul purpose evolve?
Yes, that's it. I
I
would
think that's
say
it. Yeah.
as we go through life, I call it like different eras or chapters in life. So I would say in our maybe like our teens and 20s, we're so in our self-discovery, we think we know the world. We're like, and we also get pigeonholed. Like I remember, weirdly, I was talking about this earlier on today to someone that I remember we had the careers advisor,
Hmm.
basically someone that comes in to schools and shatters every child's dreams. Like that's
Yes.
what it happened in my generation anyway. And I was asked, like, what do you want to be when you're older? What do you want to be in
Yeah. What you
itself?
want to
It's a
be?
twisted way of like saying it. And I wanted to be a singer, I wanted to be a performer, and I was just shot down instantly. It's not a real job. And it was. And luckily, there was a part of me. This is where I think that that purpose, that soul contract side can come in. I heard those words and it hurt and it shattered a part of my confidence, but I was still determined. There was a
Hmm.
part of me that was still determined. And I did. I went on and I was a singer and I then met my now husband who's a singer. And in those years, I would say my sole purpose was to evolve and be on stage and actually realize that I was painting on a smile. I was so
Mm.
insecure. I was incredibly anxious. I always felt that I was only given the lead parts because somebody else mustn't have been able to do it.
Yeah. Somebody
Constantly.
was, yeah. Something
So
happened
I
to them.
really,
So that's why they gave it to me.
yeah, literally. And that was this conditioning inside. And my sole purpose in that moment, I feel, was to be a performer. And ultimately, under the surface, the sole purpose wasn't just to be a singer, it was to go through the discomfort of realizing not everyone lives with this level of anxiety. And then 30s and 40s, I do think our sole purpose evolves, but there's a golden thread that
Hmm.
underpins it that we kind of tap into along the way and come off course and come back on course again.
Yeah, I love that, because my story was in my early 30s, I saw beauty. So fashion in my teens and early 20s, fashion was big. I studied fashion in college, and then I through a series of events couldn't continue in that industry, but I really love the beauty industry as well. And I thought there was one point where I really thought that was my sole purpose, to help make women beautiful, help them feel beautiful on the inside by making them look beautiful on the outside. And that was a journey that I was on for a little while, but there was still that thing that it wasn't quite it. Like I was when you said, you do it for free, like I loved doing that. I enjoyed doing that. But there was something else nudging on the inside of me that I didn't listen to until my early 40s, that I started listening to that other nudging. And the nudging really was to help build confidence in women from the inside out, but in a different way. It wasn't just making them beautiful on the outside. It was more finding ways to help them develop sustainable confidence, sustainable beauty, sustainable, like looking at themselves from a completely different perspective and seeing beauty in themselves outside
Just
of the makeup. Because it was my own journey that I had to go through as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for anyone listening, if you are finding yourself in that questioning place or in a bit of a rut, that it's trusting. And I think you've just completely confirmed this, that trusting that there's just no mistakes, that
Right.
even if right now we've said yes to a job and it feels misaligned, or we're like angry, or we've just then been made redundant, it's trusting that if we stay true to ourselves and have that confidence to just kind of be like, okay,
Yeah.
right now this feels like I've made a bad choice or I'm out of alignment or it feels icky or whatever that is. But trusting and having the confidence to know that that golden thread, you've dropped away from it. And your job now is to tune in and follow the signs to come back in. And you'll know, don't you? You
Yeah,
just know that
when you
you're on the
catch.
golden thread.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're on that golden thread. Absolutely. So, we're talking about developing the confidence to turn pain into power. And no one goes through life without some level of pain. Some people, it's deep, deep trauma. Some people, it is not as like powerful trauma where, I don't even want to give an example because there are so many people, women who go through really horrific things. Um, but how do we take any type of pain? Because when you're in it, it's the worst thing ever, right? We can't compare levels of pain. Pain is pain. And how do we turn that pain into power? And I first want to have you share from your own personal journey, and then we'll give you guys, we love to give you some action steps. We love to give you some things to ponder and work through. And Carol-Ann has been gracious enough to share not just some steps for our action guide, but also to give us a meditation, a guided meditation for you as well. So we'll get to that at the end. But in 2014, you said some significant things happened to you in your life. Why don't you share some of that with us?
Thank you. So it sort of blends in from I was actually still working abroad
Mhm.
as a singer and really struggling internally, but it sounds so naive when I say it, but I reckon there'll be people that resonate with this. I honestly thought everyone woke up. Like anxiety was my alarm clock. My
Right.
heart beating out of my chest and my throat being so tight, I was like, oh, it's morning. Like
That's not
I
that was natural. It was so normal for you. That was a
right.
natural feeling. Hmm.
And it's absolutely safe to say that we do not have to live like that, right? Like I now
Absolutely.
know
There's a different
that was
way. There's a better way.
a
Yes.
way, there's a way. And I was, yeah, and as much as I was living this dream life, like internally I was at that crossroads, but I was very reactive, waiting for things to happen. I thought this was it. I'd kind of made it and it was all good. And then I got the phone call. Um, and sort of trigger warning, I'm going to talk about suicide. So if this is sensitive, maybe skip forward a couple of minutes. But I had a call and sort of like, are you on your own? Do you want to sit down? And we'd lost a family member to suicide.
Mm.
And when I look back, it was really interesting how I even coped with that. insisted that I still perform that night. And I got up on stage, and this is where I'm a massive believer in the universe, whatever we call it, God, source, energy, higher power, whatever that is. I refer to it as the universe. And I was stood on stage that night and I was singing the ABBA song SOS. Now, you
Mhm.
and I have shared some moves to ABBA when we were on the cruise,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes, yes.
It all just came back to me then. But I stood, and it was this out of body moment where the band on stage knew I was not meant to be there, but I was like, it's okay. I'd painted on the red lip. I was going to be okay. And in the distance, and the lyrics hit me. Like, how have I sung that
Mm.
song every night and then not
Every night
actually
without really connecting to the lick. Yeah.
perform? It like hit me so hard. And in the distance, like everyone in front of me was sat smiling. There was kids playing, we were performing in this huge audience, and everyone had their hands up waving. And in the distance, there was a storm happening. There was lightning happening in the distance. And I was like, it felt so, it was like a metaphor for life that I
Mm.
was smiling. Everyone was so just carrying on like everything was okay. The world continues even when something catastrophic happens to
Yeah.
someone. And this lightning in the distance was this spark in my mind of like, what are we doing? Is everyone actually happy? How
Mm.
many people in front of me are masking? How am I happy? Is what else is going on under my nose that I just didn't know? And I had this big internal realization around that. And I just vowed to do whatever it takes to, I wanted instantly to put a cape on and go and rescue everyone. I remember
Mm.
having this moment where I was like, I'm gonna go and work in mental health and I'm gonna make it. And there was like this inner voice, this inner knowing that was like, you gotta heal first, girl. Like,
Mm.
you don't put that cape on. It's the oxygen mask thing, isn't it? Like, you want to
Yeah.
go and help everyone, let's help you first. And I'm so grateful I had that. And then, very close to it, I then very tragically lost a best friend to cancer. And she actually got me into performing. And she was this angel. She was an earth angel, the only way to describe it. Karen, her name is. And those two losses, one chose
Mhm.
to leave the earth, and the other would have given
Anything
anything
to
to capture
say.
the day.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? And it was this,
Yeah.
oh, it could have completely, I was like rock bottom. I could have stayed there. And I really remember thinking, I don't know how I'm going to come out of this, but I was like, going to do what it takes. So I went online and I found a therapist, a CBT therapist and hypnotherapist. Well, it's funny now when I look back, but I chose one that lived like an hour away because I was like, shh, no
Yeah.
one can know I'm going to therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Secret mission. Shh, don't tell, because
Don't
I
tell
don't
them.
know about like in America. I think it is more traditional. It's quite standard. I hear a lot of clients that are in America and they're like, hey, you have a dentist, you got a hairdresser, you got a therapist. It's quite
Right.
normalized.
Well, in
England, like,
some situations it still isn't, but I totally understand what you're saying. Yeah, it grew in the 2000s to be more mainstream. But yeah, I'm from the Caribbean, so yeah, we don't go to therapy, right?
right? This was, and it was like everyone, shh, no, like no one knew. And I went in, and this amazing woman sat and asked me some questions, and I even found myself masking straight away. Like,
Hmm.
I even was like, "Yeah, I'm okay." Like, I even said I'm okay. I
Yeah.
was not okay.
And just
And
FYI, I have a therapist. I do talk to a therapist.
yes, same. I am a big advocate, therapist, coach. Like, let's just heal, heal out loud.
Just
This is well.
you're paying someone to be your best friend to talk to you and not have any opinions about. No, I'm just kidding. That's
It literally is. I'm
like
here.
she's become my best friend. I like love to talk to her. Yeah.
Oh, I love
Oh, sorry.
that. I
Yeah, I
love
love
that. And
talking to her.
it was like halfway through this session that she just like stopped me, like hand came up and she went into a drawer and she pulled out this scraggy red rubber band and was like, okay, I'm going to give you this because my thoughts were just blame, shame, guilt, all the things on me. And she gave me this red rubber band and was like, every time you catch yourself having one of these thoughts, I want you to snap it and then just choose a better thought. I was like, And honestly, in my head, I was like, she has no idea what's going on in my brain. What on earth am I doing? This was a waste of my time. And then driving home, I was like, no, you said you were willing to do whatever it takes. So I was like snapping my band the whole way home. My wrist got sore. And that was kind of like the catalyst. Within about 72 hours, I realized I was just living with a bully.
Mm,
Whether I was in the shower, there was just this bully in my head, whether I was getting into bed, whether I was in
yeah.
front of the mirror. And I was a dancer. There was nothing on me, but this image that I had in my brain was I'm this awful, constantly beating myself up. And that rubber band, this red rubber band, I became the crazy rubber band lady. I had
Walking through,
everywhere,
snapping your.
Literally everywhere I went and bought these rubber bands, this bag in my handbag. And I'm that kind of person that if I'm at like a train station, the person next to me will just kind of, I don't know, it's like an energy thing. They'll lean in and be like, I'm going through a divorce and they'll just tell me things. So I'd just be handing these rubber bands out left, right, and center. And that was a big thing. I went through that. I had some hypnotherapy, and then I realized the power of it, that I could start to wake up and my heart wasn't beating out my chest, and
Wow.
I could speak more truth, and I could slow these thoughts down and begin to separate myself from them.
And
And
choose, be it choice. Right. Yeah.
absolutely, we can choose. And then that just got me hooked on neuroscience. I am a bit of an internal geek at heart.
Yeah.
And that just sent me down this path of mindset, neuro linguistic programming. And then I started to gain my qualifications. So life coaching, neuro linguistic programming, hypnotherapy, inner child regression, timeline therapy. And it was almost whatever I personally found had this big impact, and I started to research if there was science that backed it. I was like,
Yeah.
and that then led me to starting to work and help other people. And that's my personal journey. And I know everyone's is so different. Of the way that I see it is I try to carry the torch.
Hmm.
That pain, I could have absolutely just pulled the
On
duvet
down.
over,
Yeah. And
but it
spiraled
was,
further and
yeah,
further down.
absolutely. Or I get to carry this torch and breathe life into life every day when these two incredible people, incredible souls, aren't able to. And
Oh,
that gave me, that ignited my purpose, and it ignites me every single day. I'm so grateful for the work that I get to do. And
nice.
I think that's kind of where my personal power comes from as well now.
Oh, that's so beautiful. So we want to give you these three steps to take, and in between, there's going to be a probably an additional step. But these three steps, and you can download the action guide by going to redcarpetceo.com/resource to get it. So the first step is really self-awareness. And you know, I talk about self-awareness all the time. Like that is such a major step because we have to slow down our subconscious mind that's yapping at us. Like you said, the bully in your head. You have to be able to slow that down. And it's only through self-awareness can that happen. Um, and you mentioned something not on the call, but on our pre-call, you mentioned hold self-compassion when you're building self-awareness. Explain that a little bit for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's one thing, that first step is becoming aware
Hmm.
of the internal self-talk. Like, what am I saying to myself? And I find the natural thing can actually be like, well, great. Why am I saying this? And we can actually begin to beat ourselves up over it.
Mm,
Yeah, actually, this is kind of where inner child, where I do heart healing, and the inner child piece comes in, because ultimately we are grown-ups
yeah.
with our inner child leading the show a lot of the
A
time.
lot
And
of the time.
a lot
Like
of the
I was
time, so
listening to the Let Me book, the Let Them theory, and Mel Robbins. She said her therapist said that where all adults are all 8-year olds, if they haven't learned how to master their emotions, they're all 8-year-olds running around in adult bodies, sometimes 5-year-olds. So yeah.
yes.
Yes, that inner child work is important.
It's so important, isn't it? And that first step is when we recognize what we're saying to ourselves. Actually, almost like the way I almost describe it is you don't have to physically do it, but just take a breath and be like, wow, okay, this must be hard for you to be thinking these thoughts. So it's almost like being able to separate yourself from it
Hmm.
and become the observer of the thoughts by having compassion, having gratitude that you're able to, as an adult, actually recognize this
Hmm.
level of self-talk. Um, I went on to create these bands, given I was the crazy rubber band lady, and then went on to train in it.
Yeah.
And I always say, if we recognize it, if you've got, whether it's a hair bubble, whether it's a rubber band, whether it's one of the warrior bands, you stop and give it a gentle snap. And that actually creates something called the spotlight effect in the brain, where it's like a window of opportunity to plant a new seed, to
Mm.
plant a new thought. So once you've snapped, notice, like, what are we saying to ourselves? Have compassion, and then choose a better feel good thought. Just like you said, it's choose again, just
Yeah.
choose again. And over time, our brains are so malleable that we can, neuroplasticity, we can
Mhm.
begin to create new neural networks. Therefore, we can begin to create new self-talk. That's identity, that's confidence.
Yes. Oh, I love
Get
that.
so excited, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. The next step we talked about is healing out loud. What does
Mm.
that look like?
Heal out, like, just like own the journey. I think we are in this generation now where we're breaking chains from the generations above us, where
Mhm.
it very much was like,
Keep your mouth shut. Right. We don't talk about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that heal out loud, like, if you've got a book that you love reading, but you're a bit like, oh, what people are going to think on the train, oh, open it, own it, because you might just be the catalyst for someone else to be like, that book looks. I just feel the more that we can own our journeys and share that with our kids, if we're going to, and obviously everyone's in different phases, so meet yourself where you are, but share with your kids if, well, mummy's got a therapy session.
Hmm.
Like, let that be
Like
normalized.
normalizing. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
not in
And
the shadows anymore. Yeah.
yeah, I think the more we do that, the more we're giving permission slips for the next generation.
Yeah. So, yes. And then in that, developing the confidence to turn your pain into power, the next step is to use your brain's ability to create a new future for yourself. Share that with us.
Yes, this was a big piece for me when it comes to the confidence to actually almost like have the permission to feel powerful. As someone who was brought up, that's like, if you've not got anything nice to say, you don't say anything at all.
Yes,
Like, oh,
exactly.
it's
Yep.
okay. And people please and be the good girl and all those things, that it's we I personally believe that we have our, like, physical reality and our physical body, and our soul self or our higher self is such a north star for us.
Mhm.
That's what gives us the nudges. That's what gives us that urge to be like, I'm not going to settle in this marriage, I'm not going to settle in this job. I can have it all, I can be authentic. And the power that we have, and I always give this, I'm a massive advocate for visualization. And I think sometimes meditation, visualization can sound a bit fluffy, and
Sure.
mindfulness. And we sit, we close our eyes, and but if we sit and watch a horror film, we know Steven Spielberg's behind the scenes and the blood's not real and the ghost ain't real. But we still have such a visceral response, to the
Yeah.
point where even when you go into bed later, we're still kind of on our tiptoes going up the stairs. Do you know what I
Right,
mean?
right. Yeah, exactly.
So the brain just does not know the difference between what's real and what isn't. And sometimes that can work not to our advantage if we're a big worrier, and
Yeah.
but we can train our brain the more that we just spend, even if you're daydreaming. Like, I've got twin toddlers. No, oh, they're not
No,
even toddlers
they're
anymore.
not
They're nearly
toddlers
5 years.
anymore. They're little men. They're 5 years old.
I
Yeah.
still say toddlers and I have to correct myself. Twin, nearly 5 year olds, man.
Yeah,
And
almost in
I
preschool.
Yeah, they are. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And but I used to be the 5 a.m. club, get up, meditate, journal. Now, if I've got a cold coffee, like I'm lucky. I sit and just imagine. We can use our imagination, we can visualize. I'm going to share one with you to share.
Yeah.
And we can begin to envision that part of ourselves being evoked.
Yeah.
And the more
It's
we
very
allow us,
powerful. Visualization
right?
and imagination is so powerful. It's one of the power faculties of the mind that if you haven't tapped into it, it is one of those most powerful faculties of the mind. So, yeah, I'm with you on that for sure.
Truly, truly is. So
Oh.
I'm excited. That I think is a big part of the embodiment of the power.
Well, Carol-Ann, this has been really amazing, and we are out of time, but just share with people if they want to know more about you and they want to connect with you, how is the best way that someone can connect with you?
I'm on Instagram, which is at Carol-Ann Reid Coach. And I'm pretty old school. I'm still like a Facebooker. I'm getting on TikTok. But Facebook, I'm still very active on Facebook. And my website is carolannreid.com.
Thank you so much. So, if you want this beautiful, amazing British accent in your ear as you meditate, you can go to redcarpetceo.com/resource. We'll have the action guide with the link for the meditation that you can do that Carol-Ann has so graciously shared with us for you. And with that, I will say to you all to be bold, to be brave, and every day do one thing to step out with audacious confidence. And since our topic today was to turn your pain into power, think about one way that you can shift that pain that you might be feeling into helping someone else and becoming powerful so that you can find your soul's purpose. I'm Alicia Couri, and this is Unleash Your Audacious Confidence. I hope to see you in another episode. See you later. Mwah. Turnover. It's incredibly expensive for any organization, but especially those that are small and mid-size. If you're an organization and you're hiring, it's so important to get it right. You need to identify the right people for the right roles. Here at Audacious Concepts Inc., we help you perfect your hiring process so you get it right every single time. Reach out to us at audaciousconceptsinc.com